This is the story of a mysterious island inhabited only by women. From this island, Edward suddenly receives a letter from his ex-fiancée, stating that their daughter has gone missing from the island. Being a police officer by profession, Edward sets off to investigate the mystery on that unfamiliar island. However, he had no idea what a terrible nightmare this decision was about to unleash upon his life. What happened to Edward? How did the girl go missing? And what is the island's secret? I was talking about the cult classic movie, The Wicker Man. The story begins by showing us Edward Malice, a police officer on duty. After finishing his tiffin, he is busy patrolling the road. Just then, he sees a doll fall from an unfamiliar car, and he picks it up and stops the car. He sees a little girl and her mother who are shifting to another city. Edward returns the doll to the girl and tells them to drive safely before turning to leave. That's when the girl mischievously drops the doll again. Edward smiles and starts to pick it up when a truck hits the car. Edward tries hard to save the mother and daughter, but they die on the spot. This incident has a profoundly negative effect on Edward's life, resulting in a mental illness. After being under treatment for some time, he decides to quit his police job. A month or two passes since the incident, but Edward still experiences hallucinations and has to take regular medication for it. One day, an officer comes to meet Edward and gives him several important papers along with a letter addressed to him. After the officer leaves, Edward looks at the papers and sees a letter from his ex-fiancée, Willow. Their relationship ended several years ago, and they haven't spoken since. The sudden letter makes Edward pensive. The letter states that their daughter, Rowan, has been missing for the last 2 weeks. Willow lives on a small island called Summer's Isle, where she grew up. Summer's Isle is a private island in the Pacific Northwest, far from the city, inhabited by a community of farmers. It's impossible for little Rowan to have escaped from here, and the community isn't helping with the matter. Therefore, she needs Edward's help. Being a police officer, he cannot reject this request. The strange thing is that Summer's Isle is such a private island that not only is movement restricted, but there is also no mobile tower. Despite his friend telling him not to go after learning all this, Edward decides to leave for Summer's Isle, forgetting all the old memories. On the way, he sees a little girl on the boat, which triggers a hallucination of his accident, and he calms himself by taking medication again. After reaching a certain point, no one wants to go towards the island, so Edward meets an older man named Miller, who supplies essential goods to Summer's Isle. Edward asks him for a ride there, but Miller initially refuses because the people there do not like the arrival of unknown outsiders. When Edward offers him a good amount of money, he agrees, but Miller drops Edward a little distance from the main island of Summer's Isle, avoiding everyone's eyes. After traversing the jungle, Edward meets some island residents. As soon as they see him, everyone expresses discontent. But Edward says he is a police officer and was called to the island by one of its residents to investigate a missing child. An elderly woman ignores this and asks him to meet Sister Summer's Isle for permission. Edward shows them Rowan's picture and asks about her, but they pretend not to know her and turn away. This raises Edward's suspicion. When he mentions her mother's name, they say there is a person named Sister Willow who stays in the meeting house, but the picture is not of her daughter. Edward then comes to a house for a few days' stay. The owner of the house is a woman named Sister Peach. It is noteworthy that most of the residents in this house are women, and the handful of men who are there are practically silent observers. Willow arrives there and shows Edward his room. Before going to the room, Edward informs everyone present about the reason for his visit and sees that everyone seems indifferent about Rowan. But when a bee lands on the table, Edward kills it with a glass, and the way Peach reacts surprises Edward. Willow has left a note for him in the room, asking him to meet her alone by the bridge in an hour. Edward meets Willow as planned and asks her to tell him everything from the beginning, such as why she suddenly left him and came here. Edward didn't even know he had a daughter. Willow's answers to the questions are incomplete. For example, why did she call Edward for help instead of the girl's father? Was it just because she trusted him? Edward doesn't press for an answer. She says no one believes Rowan is missing, but she is sure the girl is still there. When Edward tries to ask more questions, Willow sees something and quickly runs away. In the evening, Edward checks his bag in the room and is shocked because the tape titled, "Everything is Okay," is missing from the bag. This means someone must have opened his bag. When he goes to ask about it, he overhears Peach telling two blind twin women to prepare for the festival that is to take place 2 days later. Edward sees all this and does not pursue the matter. Waking up from a nightmare during the night, Edward suddenly hears a child crying. He sees a child wearing a dress just like Rowan's running towards the jungle. Edward breathlessly chases her and enters a building. He doesn't find Rowan there. Maybe it was a hallucination. At breakfast, Edward asks for honey. As beekeeping is visible everywhere, he looks on the island. But Sister Honey ignores his request and leaves, drawing his attention to the festival pictures hanging on the wall of the house. In every frame of every year, there is a picture of a little girl, except for the last year's frame. When Edward asks Peach about it, he learns that these are pictures of the Harvest Festival, which is celebrated every year on the last day of spring. Not only that, but a fertility festival is also celebrated here. When asked about the empty frame from last year, she says it was damaged by fire last night and has been sent for repair. Edward notices that most of the work here is done by women. The men are almost non-existent. Moreover, everyone seems to be hiding something from him. Edward then comes to the children's school to meet Sister Rose. Surprisingly, only girls are studying here as well. Edward shows Sister Rose and all the children Rowan's picture and asks about her. But they all react as if they have never seen or known Rowan. His suspicion grows, and he forcibly checks the student attendance register and is genuinely surprised to see Rowan's name there. It's understandable that Sister Rose might lie, but how are these children also lying? Rose says Rowan died in a fire. Willow doesn't believe this. Even the locals ignore the issue because, for them, there is no such thing as death. It is a special stage where the human soul leaves the body after a certain time and dissolves into nature. Edward doesn't say much more. Learning from the locals, he comes to the church graveyard. Willow is present there and says there is no use looking for Rowan here because she is alive. This place has not been used as a graveyard for ages, so the old crypts are probably filled with water now. Everything happening with Rowan is a conspiracy because Willow wanted to leave this place due to her free thinking. So, Sister Summersisle, the queen of the island, is now trying to do something with Willow by removing Rowan as punishment. With this, Willow reveals another secret. Rowan is no one else's but Edward's child. Edward falls into a dilemma after hearing all this, wondering whose words to believe. If Rowan is their child, why did she hide it from the beginning? She then brings Edward to the house and clarifies the matter a little more. Actually, that day, Willow went to the market for half an hour, leaving Rowan at home. When she returned, she saw Rowan was gone, and every item she used was missing from the house, as if she never existed. Besides, Willow only has that one picture of Rowan because only Dr. Moss uses a camera on the island, and he takes pictures of everyone. Edward sees some cryptic drawings under Rowan's desk where "Help me" was written, increasing his worry. Just then, he hears the sound of a plane. Miller must have arrived. Since there is no mobile tower, Edward thinks he can use the plane's radio to call someone for help and rushes to the deck. But he does not see Miller in the plane and waits there for him to return. After some time, Edward's attention goes below the deck. It looks like someone is floating there. He quickly swims to check and sees that it is Rowan. And then Edward wakes up with a jolt. He had fallen asleep while sitting. He notices the plane. Why hasn't anyone come yet? He swims to the plane and sees that the entire radio system is broken. This means someone did it intentionally. As the mystery deepens, Edward goes straight to Dr. Moss. Moss also tries to ignore him, so Edward waits secretly for Moss to leave the house. When Moss leaves with some sisters, Edward enters his house and finds a book on ancient rituals. It states that to ensure a good harvest, a little girl must be sacrificed at the fertility festival at the beginning of the year through a special ritual in the fire. Reading this reminds him of what Sister Rose had said about Rowan. Finding Rowan's picture at Dr. Moss's house further increases his suspicion. Edward quickly asks Willow for confirmation on this matter, questioning why she hid the part about Rowan being in the ritual from the beginning. However, through manipulative speech, Willow fails to give a correct answer and becomes emotional, so Edward does not press the matter further. Finally, finding no help, he goes to meet Sister Summersile, but he is troubled by the bees raised around her house. Edward was allergic to bees, so what had to happen happened. When he regained consciousness, he saw Sister Sam lying in bed with Dr. Moss sitting next to her. Edward composes himself and comes outside to meet Sister Summersile. She seems quite calm. Without much fuss, Edward asks her permission to dig up Rowan's grave so that a postmortem can be done on her body to find out the real cause of death. However, the sister does not seem too concerned about the matter. Edward then gets annoyed and asks her about the island. She says that everyone on the island worships a single goddess, and Sister Summersile is the goddess's own messenger. Let's simplify this part a bit. The people of Summersile Island believe in paganism. The word pagan comes from the Latin word paganus, meaning rural folk or villager. Paganism is a very old religious belief that was prevalent in many parts of Europe before Christianity. Even as Christianity spread in the cities, the villagers still worshipped several ancient gods and goddesses. Christians used to call them pagans. Paganism is often called earth religion or nature spirituality because they see divine power in various elements of nature, such as the sun, moon, rivers, trees, and animals, and worship them. They also celebrate various seasonal festivals, the main ones being Beltane, Samhain, and Yule. They believe that birth, death, and rebirth are like a cycle. According to various mythological accounts, the bee is seen as a symbol of knowledge, death, and rebirth. That is why beekeeping is prevalent everywhere on Summersile, and this is why Sister Peach reacted when Edward killed the bee. When pagans perform these rituals, they use a human-shaped wooden structure which they call a Wicker Man. If you still think these are fairy tales, you will be surprised to know that several modern forms of paganism exist today, such as Wicca, Druidry, and heathenry. So, Sister Summersile says that during the Salem witch trials, when women were being killed under suspicion of being witches, their ancestors traveled far and found this island around 1850 and settled here. Since then, a matriarchal society has been running here, where men are only used for the purpose of procreating/giving birth to children. After hearing everything, Edward understands the level of hypocrisy happening here. So, without further talk, he goes out to solve the mystery. As night falls, Edward comes to the old cemetery of the island and opens Rowan's grave but finds nothing but a burned doll. So, Rowan must still be alive, and they have hidden her. Just then, he hears Rowan's crying sound, which is coming from below a subterranean location. Edward sees a torn piece of Rowan's sweater there and climbs down into the water. Finding nothing, he starts to return, only to see that someone has locked the exit. The poor man spends the whole night in the water without any help. Fortunately, Willow comes looking for him in the morning and rescues him. He warns Willow to be careful and goes straight to Sister Summersile's house. But several strange things there worry Edward, such as Sister Summersile's husband and a woman locked up in the upper room with bees. Edward leaves the house and is surprised to see Sister Rose coming down the road wearing a mask. When he asks, he learns that they are preparing for the festival. This means something will surely happen to Rowan today. He must rescue her somehow before that. Snatching the bicycle from Rose, he goes to the bar. He asks all the men present for help, but no one comes forward out of fear. He then searches for Rowan by going through every house, but to no avail. Even his bicycle is stolen when he is not looking. Finally, Edward comes to the deck and sees Miller's dead body lying in the stone crevice. Someone has brutally murdered him. Helpless, Edward comes to the bar, hits Sister Peach, and knocks her unconscious. He then puts on her bear costume and participates in the ritual, hoping to find Rowan there. Everyone on the island is walking, wearing different costumes and masks, to celebrate. The most surprising thing is that even Willow is participating. After walking a long distance, they arrive at a spot inside the jungle. Edward sees Rowan tied to a large tree. Edward does not delay, rescues Rowan, and runs with her toward the deck. On Sister Summersile's command, the others are already chasing Edward. While hiding behind a tree to escape them, Rowan suddenly lets go of Edward's hand and sprints deeper into the jungle. Edward runs after her, forgetting everything to save her. But wait, after running through the entire jungle, Rowan comes to a field and runs towards Sister Summersisle and her mother, Willow, who are standing on the opposite side. Edward is now truly confused. He can't figure out what happened to him. Sister Summersisle smiles and says, "Thank you, Mr. Edward, for coming here of your own free will. You have fulfilled the tradition of the Wicker Man." And with this incident, the real mystery is revealed. Rowan was never missing. It was all part of their plan. As the harvest was poor last year, they needed to sacrifice someone of their own blood to appease their goddess. This is where Willow came in handy. She had been in a false relationship with Edward from the very first day. Her real goal was to return to this island with a daughter so that their lineage could continue. Willow is none other than Sister Summersisle's daughter. When she learned that they needed a large sacrifice, they all sent that letter to Edward. Their guess was that Edward would surely rush back on Willow's word. And that's what happened. From the first day Edward arrived here, the entire island staged the events in such a way that Edward became more and more entangled in their web of deception. Just then, Edward points his gun at them and shoots, but he is shocked because Willow had already removed the bullets. Before he can understand anything, everyone jumps on Edward. He is tied up in a sack and brought before the huge, bamboo-built Wicker Man statue, which has various animals trapped inside. Edward is tied up and raised to the very top, and a burning torch is handed to Rowan. Edward screams at Rowan not to set it on fire, telling her he is her father. But who listens to whom? The fire slowly spreads. Everyone is cheering loudly as they watch Edward burn. Edward could not understand when he came to this island as a hunter and became the hunted himself. 6 months pass after this incident. Willow and Honey are seen in a bar in a city, looking for a new victim, and with this, the story of the Wicker Man ends. So friends, please let us know how you liked the video by commenting, and don't forget to subscribe to the Ghostly Screen channel.